This is Bruce Delaney from Rediscovered Books, doing a video review of Robert E. Lee and Me, A Southerner's Reckoning with the Myth of the Lost Cause by retired Army General Ty Seidule. This is a book that we are actually going to be talking about at our next Human Rights Book Club, and you might think this doesn't sound like a human rights issue to me, but it really is. We are looking at a book from the point of view of a man who was born in Virginia, who spent his entire adult career as an Army officer, who went to Washington and Lee University. And as many men of his generation, and especially men who were born in the South, did, he grew up idolizing Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, John Bell Hood, all of these Confederate generals. But as he started teaching history to generations of upcoming Army officers, he really had to reckon with the moral rectitude of looking at someone like Robert E. Lee, looking at somebody like John Bell Hood, looking at the military bases that are named after these generals in the South, where many African American soldiers of today have to serve on bases that are named after men who fought to keep them enslaved. He realized that he had to rethink the story of his life, the story of what the Civil War was really all about, and just simple things like looking at the way that we refer to the armies that fought. And he realized he didn't want to talk about the Confederates and the Union. He wanted to talk about the United States Army, of which he was a proud part of, and the rebels who killed more United States soldiers than the Germans did in World War II. He looked at it and said, how would I feel if these young Army officers who I'm teaching, many of whom are African American, how would I feel if I was one of them and was forced to go serve at a military base named after the founder of the Ku Klux Klan? He thought at the time that his position as a historian, as a serving officer, would give his thoughts some gravitas. And what he found out is that people wanted to argue with him. People wanted to argue about their heritage. People wanted to argue about, how we should deal with some of these men and some of these monuments. And it's become a real human rights issue. And it's an issue that I feel very strongly on. I feel that these monuments belong in museums, not on street corners, and that we need to be looking at how we are teaching the history of our country to put it in an honest perspective. We can never grow unless we're honest with ourselves on our past. And this is becoming an issue, in many places as these monuments are taken out. They just took a bust of Jefferson Davis out of one of the state houses in, I believe, in Kentucky. And he has a fascinating perspective on it. It's full of facts, but it's also full of his personal story and how he personally came about to sharing a view that's very similar to mine. So I think it's a great book. I think you should take a look at it, read it. And if you've got time, please join us at our Human Rights Book Club. It's a Zoom event, so you can come in, take part in what I hope is going to be an interesting discussion.